Alright, so I haven't really done this before. You have seen me talk about pro wrestling here and there on this channel, but not really a review, so that's what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna make a SmackDown review. So, let's get this started. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm gonna give you my opinions, and this isn't going to be a really long hour and a half video that you guys really see from podcasters these days. I just want to make a direct video straight from the heart of what I think of current WWE products. So this is your SmackDown review for December 19th, 2025. Of course, I'm going to be uploading it the next day, so it's going to be December 20th on Saturday. So, SmackDown started in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Now, this crowd is very, very dreadful. They were dreadful on Monday, and I understand why they were dreadful on Monday because before Monday Night Raw started, they had to sit through the tapings of SmackDown. So they exhausted all of their energy, and whatever they had left, they just gave it all to Gunther, the ring general, when he came out and he cut that promo to kick off Raw. So, anyways, this is SmackDown. I expected them to be a little bit loud here, but they're just not it for me when it comes to pro wrestling crowds. They're just, I don't know, they barely made any noise, and I know the product is garbage, but still. So, Friday Night SmackDown kicked off. They do this whole shtick where everybody's just shown in the back, going to the arena like it's UFC or some, I don't know, fighting show. This has become the new norm now. Every time a a SmackDown episode is gonna start, they just kick off with people showing up to the arena and getting out of their cars. The same old entrance, the same old way to kick off the show over and over and over again. So, anyways, we saw Solo Sikoa, Cody Rhodes, all these guys, making the entrance towards the arena, and then we cut towards the actual crowd in the middle of the ring, and then out comes Damian Priest. Now, Damian Priest is someone who has been ice cold. He's receiving very lukewarm reactions. WWE isn't doing much with him. There were rumors when 2025 started that he was going to be in a world title program with Cody Rhodes. I know they teased a little bit backstage interaction, and that went nowhere. Then we come to this week where we found out that Damien has injuries. It was reported in the wrestling news this week that he's been working with injuries and he's going to be taking some time off. So he made his way towards the arena and he started cutting off a promo. He begins with, "Oh, this was an emotional week, and John Cena retired." And the crowd cheered, of course, for Cena, and he says he's a legend and he always will be. Then he cuts towards, he talks about Aleister Black and Zelina Vega. So Damian Priest has been in a feud with Aleister Black and Zelina Vega ever since Black turned heel, and a couple of weeks back when I believe it was a month back where Zelina threw a fireball on Aleister, not Aleister Black, on Damian Priest's face, and Aleister kicked him with a black mass in a street fight or no DQ match when they were brawling in the arena. So, of course, they are still continuing this feud. I don't know why they're continuing this feud. This should have been done and over with the moment Aleister Black defeated Damian Priest. And if they really, really wanted to push Aleister Black to a top level heel, then they should have made these two have a match on a premium live event, like a Saturday Night Main Event or Survivor Series War Games or something like that. But they did not, and this is a big problem that pro wrestling companies run into when you have a feud like that and you want to showcase it towards a much bigger audience, because Aleister Black is not on that level. He's not a mega heel. He's not on the level of a Gunther. He's not on the level of a Cody Rhodes or any other guys who are on the main event top scene right now. He's not even on a level of Braun Breaker, who's part of the Division. So you want to showcase this feud. You want to have a goal to showcase this feud to as many people as possible. So they failed at that. They did not put this feud on a main roster premium live event. So they are still fighting. Last week we saw Rhea Ripley, the former Judgment Day stablemate and a much closer friend of Damian Priest, team up with him after all these months, a year together to take on Aleister Black and Zelina Vega, and Rhea and Damian were able to win the match. So not only that makes Zelina and Aleister look weak because they're supposed to be a dangerous heel, but you made them lose. So how is that supposed to build them up? And on top of that, SmackDown right here in Hershey, Pennsylvania. It kicked off with Damian Priest, and what did they do? Instead of giving him a new feud, he just goes after Aleister Black once again. Oh, great. He began his promo talking about how Aleister Black and Zelina Vega are now in the past and he's gonna move on. And I'm like, finally. And out comes Zelina Vega, and she's like, in just a very lame promo with like, oh, we're not done with you, giving off these vibes, and Aleister Black theme song plays and he attacks Damian Priest from behind, indicating that this feud is pretty much still gonna continue. How long before people stop caring and you start getting no reactions whatsoever? And then the blame is gonna go to Black and Priest and everyone involved in this feud. And it's not their fault. The creative team just keep booking them over and over and over again. You need to move on. You need to build Aleister Black. You need to build him to a credible heel level status. And you're not doing that. After that, we cut towards backstage where Byron Saxton interviewed Lash Legend and Nia Jax. So this is a new team. Their alliance began at War Games, and WWE has been putting effort to revive their dead division of tag team. They are really putting in the effort. They want this tag team division to try and mean something, so they're just doing these random pairings. We saw how this year they made Charlotte and Alexa team up and just putting single superstar together in a team. And Lash Legend is someone who the company is really, really high on. I will I believe last year or this year in the Royal Rumble she was even showcased representing NXT, so they're really high on her. She has a good build, and who knows? Maybe they do see her as someone who's a strong and credible champion, but they have a long way to go before they get to that level. So they cut a promo on how they're gonna run over the tag team division and all that. And so they said that they were coming after the tag team titles, and Charlotte and Alexa are now in the past. So we'll see where this goes. And who knows, this could be a dominant tag team. I'm just not sure yet. So Lash Legend and Nia Jax then got into a tag team match immediately against the Kabuki Warriors, and the crowd was pretty much dead for the first half. And when the hard tag was made, then they started making some noise, and Nia Jax and Lash Legend won. They're really just building these two up. So out comes Charlotte and Alexa, and they got into a brawl, and that's how this segment ended. So the first two segments of the show were pretty lukewarm, you know. Then we had a backstage segment between Julia and Kiana James. Jackie Redmond, lovely Jackie Redmond, she interviewed, and like Kiana James were really just doing her shtick, playing the heel gimmick. Oh, you have to talk to me first before you talk to Julia, and it's really hard for me to take Julia seriously these days because when she was called up to the main roster alongside Stephanie Vaquer, I guess WWE's vision was that they want one on either show, Julia on SmackDown and Stephanie on Raw. And with the Stephanie, she does the devil's kiss and everybody loves it. And that's pretty much her whole gimmick now because that's how WWE's book her. On the other hand, you have Julia who doesn't have the devil's kiss, so she doesn't really get the reactions from the crowd. And that's WWE's fault. She is not allowed to showcase her personality. She barely gets enough time on television. How are you supposed to build someone like that up? And they gave her the US title, and we thought that maybe Julia can become the Gunther of United States Championship for the women's, and she's gonna run towards everybody, have top quality matches on the premium live event. But no, she lost the title back to Chelsea Green in 1 minute and 38 seconds. So it's really hard for me to take her seriously now. Then we cut towards the big segment of the show, and that was Nick Aldis sitting at Drew McIntyre's home in the lawn with the beautiful grass and the white chairs, and they're sitting at a table and they're talking about what happened at Saturday night's main event, where Drew McIntyre interfered in the match between Cody Rhodes versus Oba Femi, champion versus champion exhibition match. So Nick Aldis talked about how you have pretty much make life miserable for everyone on the show because Drew has been on this rampage. He first attacked Cody at his tour bus, and it was a brutal, bloody assault, and that resulted in Cody attacking Drew back. And then on SmackDown a couple of weeks ago, Drew came out and he's like, "Oh, this is the unsafe environment. I got attacked." So he forgot that you're the one who attacked Cody first, and you created this bloody mess. So he's been going on saying on Twitter and cutting these promos that WWE is an unsafe environment, and that whole thing resulted in Nick Aldis suspending Drew McIntyre. And now Nick Aldis was at his home, and he was like, "Okay, Drew, what do you want?" And Drew McIntyre, he replied that he wants the WWE Championship. So Nick Aldis made the match. We don't know when is this match gonna take place, but they just made the match. Alright, so what happened next is that Drew McIntyre, he said, "Nah, I'm not gonna do this on your terms, I'm gonna do this on my terms. So I'm gonna pick a stipulation," that's what Drew said. And Nick Aldis said he agreed because he has no other choice. And then Drew was like, he took his phone out, and on the security footage of his home there was Cody Rhodes, and he was arguing with the security guards, and this turned into a brawl, and Nick Aldis ran in, and the segment ended with both of them trying to hurt each other, and the security pulling them apart, and Cody saying "Merry fucking Christmas" or whatever, "you asshole." They bleeped it out. So a match between Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes has been made. We don't know when is this gonna take place, but I have my own speculation. I think they're gonna do it at the Royal Rumble, and I think Drew is about to take another L. Drew McIntyre this year has been absolutely horribly booked by WWE. He just keeps losing to Cody Rhodes over and over and over again. He has lost to Cody two times and one time in a tag match, so that's three losses right there. And this is going to be a fourth one because I just don't see Cody entering WrestleMania 42 without the WWE title. So, so after this cinematic segment ended, we cut towards a backstage WWE interview with Byron Saxton and Nick Aldis. And Nick Aldis was standing, and there was this Bruno Sammartino poster behind him. There's been a lot of Bruno posters in these past few WWE shows, and he talked about how Cody should have never showed up to Drew's house, and this has now turned into legal affairs and legal matters, and he can't really do much. So out comes The Miz, and he's like, he can't believe everything that has happened to him because at Saturday night's main event, The Miz was in a comedy segment where R-Truth had a surprise, and that surprise was Joe Hendry, and they both, beat Miz up because Miz stole his spot in the Last Time Is Now tournament. So Nick Aldis was like, "Oh, I know why you're here because of Joe Hen," and Miz was like, "Stop right there. Don't say his name." And out comes R-Truth, and he did this whole balls comedy that he's been doing. Oh, R-Truth was like, "Oh, Miz is upset because of Nick Aldis's balls or whatever." So, yeah, this was just not it. So these four segments so far and a match, these are pretty much dreadful because there is just lukewarm reactions, comedy, and that is how WWE shows are gonna be these Hallow not Halloween, holiday season because we're heading towards Christmas after that. We are gonna be going to the Rumble season, and that is when WWE is gonna shift the next gear. So until the Royal Rumble, that's the type of shows you're gonna get. And let me just say this about Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry has pretty much been in all these comedy segments, and that's how I see WWE booking him. He's not going to be a world champion or WWE champion. They're just going to keep on booking him in these comedy segments because that's just how they see him, and that might be his ceiling in WWE. After that, we had a glorified squash match between Alba Fire and Julia. So I guess they're trying to build back Julia, but they're just doing a terrible job. Chelsea Green was outside and she was playing this, oh, I'm so annoyed, her gimmick. And I guess they're building towards another match between these two, but what are you going to do? Play the hot potato with the US Women's title and give it back to Julia? So this is just, I don't know what to make of this. This is not good creative. Speaking of dull segments, then we had Uncle Howdy cutting his cryptic promos because he and the Wyatt Six are going up against the MFTs since past month. Sometimes they end up in brawls, sometimes it's just backstage interactions and showdown, and this really should have been your traditional 5-on-5 Survivor Series match, but instead they did the MFTs versus Sami Zayn, Nakamura, and the Machine Guns and Ray Phoenix on SmackDown prior to Survivor Series. I have a pretty big problem with this entire feud. You really gotta just wonder who the Wyatt Six are and who these MFTs are when you look at them as characters. If you want people to be emotionally invested in these characters, you gotta tell us who Joe Gacy is. You gotta tell us who Dexter Loomis is, what their backstories are, why are they part of this group. And WWE has done a piss poor job at that. So emotionally connecting to these people has been very difficult. And same thing goes with the MFTs. They have not done a good job at all when it comes to showcasing who Tala Tonga is and who Tangaloa is and who JC Mateo, aka Jeff Cobb is. Look, me, I watch professional wrestling. I know who Jeff Cobb is. I have seen him in the NJPW, and I know what he did there when he was part of the United Empire with Will Ospreay. But how can you expect the casual audience to make noise for these people when they don't really know who these people are? And you are just dragging this feud out. This should have been a match weeks ago. But nope, they're just dragging this shit out and there's no emotional investment in it. So that's like 4 or 5 dull segments now, with the only good one being Nick Aldis and Cody Rhodes. So Cody Rhodes made his entrance, and everyone did the whoa, and he got in the ring, and he started cutting a fiery promo of how he showed up at Drew McIntyre's home, and out come Nick Aldis, and he's like, "Look, you're not above the law. You should have never showed up to Drew's house, and now I cannot get you out of the legal affairs." And he's like, "Look, you're my friend, but now you took things legally, and you're in the trouble with the law now." And Cody cut this fiery promo was like, "As long as I have this title, I am the law, damn it." And so Cody pretty much put Nick Aldis on notice that he is gonna do what he wants to do, and Nick Aldis was like, "Look, you cannot put your finger on Drew McIntyre. That is what me and Drew agreed on until your match, because Drew thinks that this is an unsafe working environment." So they're building up towards Drew versus Cody number 3 or number 4 if you count that tag match, and I think Drew is gonna take another L because I don't see them heading into WrestleMania season without Cody as their champion. So that's two good segments so far. The one with the cinematic one where Drew was talking to Nick Aldis, and this one. So far the first hour of this show has been pretty much dull. Then we had a very good tag team match between DIY against Ilya Dragunov and Carmelo Hayes. Before this match, there was a very short backstage segment where Dragunov thanked Carmelo for saving him last week, and he was like, "No need to mention it." Then we had this match, and in the background of this short segment, there was Tama Tonga. They're teasing Tama Tonga against Dragunov too, and that should be a very good match because I'm someone who has seen Tama Tonga in NJPW when he was part of the Bullet Club. He's a very solid in-ring performer. He has that natural charisma. He just does this serious stuff and then goofy shit, and he's good in the ring too. So that should be a banger match. Should be on premium live event, but I don't trust WWE. So this tag team match took place, and this was a TV level match. I mean, it was like less than 10 minutes. Carmelo hit the nothing but net, and they won. Dragunov and Dragunov, Dragunov and Carmelo Hayes, and they're working towards a program between these two, and that should be an excellent match for the United States Championship for men. And I don't know, they could, if they do it at WrestleMania, then Dragunov would have to lose. So maybe they do it at WrestleMania, or they build it towards WrestleMania where Carmelo keeps on losing to Dragunov but eventually defeats him. But you want to protect Dragunov too, so it ends up becoming a triple threat for US title. That could be something. And then they put up the graphics on the screen for next week's SmackDown, and it's not looking much better. There's Drew McIntyre is going to return, of course, because he's reinstated. There's going to be Miz versus Joe Hendry, which should be just your typical fun comedy stuff. It's gonna be an average match. Let's be real. They're in this mini feud on the undercard or the lower card of the show, whatever you want to call. And Ilya Dragunov is going to have a surprise opponent match, like he always does, for the US Championship Open Challenge. And then we head towards the main event of the show, where we had the MFTs finally going up against the Wyatt Six versus the MFTs in a 2-on-2 tag team match, and this was pretty dreadful because of a couple of reasons. One, in New Japan, we had the tag team of Tama Tonga, Tangaloa, the Sons of Haku, known as the Gorillas of Destiny, and they're a really good tag team. They've won tag team titles several times, one of the top tag teams of the show. And instead of picking those two, you pick Tangaloa, who pretty much on his own does skits, non-serious skits and comedy, and JC Mateo, former Jeff Cobb, who's a very good Olympic wrestler, powerhouse muscle of the team. You pick these two, which is the worst combination against Loomis and Gacy, who the crowd barely knows anything about as far as character goes. So this was a pretty dull match. The whole thing turned into a brawl, disqualification. Everybody started fighting each other outside. Tama Tonga punched Uncle Howdy, and Joe Testator is trying to sell this on the commentary. Oh, everything is out of control and all that stuff. And inside the ring, all of the members of the MFTs grabbed Dexter Loomis and Tala Tonga, the tallest member of the group who they billed as 7 feet tall, who was in NJPW. He was just getting started. He immediately went into WWE. He was part of the Bullet Club and he did this giant cross body and everybody just fell. So they did this spot. That was the only thing memorable about this match, and yeah. I thought they were gonna end the show with the MFT on top, but then Eric Rowan showed up in the ring. He cleared the ring, kicking everybody down, and he tossed Nikki Cross outside the ring on the MFTs, and the the group that was on the top by the end of the night was the Wyatt Six. And I was like, okay, that's how they're gonna end the show. But and Solo Sikoa, Solo Sikoa hit a Samoan spike to Eric Rowan, and the show ended in a full-on brawl. So there was no one who was on the top by the end of the show. No group was taking the lead in this fight, this brawl, whatever you want to call this. And yeah, that was your SmackDown. It's the holiday season, and that's how pretty much these shows are gonna be. Even if they book a Wyatt 6 versus MFT at a Royal Rumble in a tag match or whatever, I don't see people caring about this because because there is just no emotional connection from the crowd towards these characters. And that's your SmackDown review for December 19th, 2025. Leave your thoughts and comments down below. And this was the first WWE TV show review I did. I know I've been uploading videos for a long time. I don't really do this. I got college and work and all that. I do listen to other podcasts. So, yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful, fantastic day and leave your thoughts, comments below if you're watching this video. And see ya. Peace out.